Are you online? Can you hear me? Please, please, please. Yes, you're live. Now everyone can see me looking at my own Twitch. Don't look. Don't look.
I'm looking.
Don't look.
I'm looking.
Please don't look. I'm not
I'm
done yet.
looking.
I'm not done yet.
Eat my dick. I'm looking.
That's a mean word. I can't believe you said that on air.
I do what I want.
Hear that, everyone? Dara's a bitch.
Wow.
Wowzer.
I'm just kidding. I love you, Dara.
Oh, okay. I love you too.
I'm sorry I said a mean word, everybody.
I'm sorry I said the dick word.
You said it.
You ever just
Yeah?
say the dick word?
Are you okay?
I need to drink some water.
Oh god.
I wish I had orange juice. I really want orange juice. I just realized
Dude.
we're still on stream.
God, I was gonna say, dude, I really want to go to Safeway to get some of that good old mango orange juice.
Yes, that's like
Love that shit.
that's literally the worst part about that Safeway closing is I can't get mango orange juice anymore.
I know. I was so mad.
Because it's never at because like at least Grocery Outlet now has Lactaid, but it's never at Grocery Outlet.
Yeah.
Crap.
God bless them for having Lactaid now, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'd also like
I
some
want
like fresh
my
fruit,
OJ.
you know, some fruit that's unrotten.
Yeah, some of that too.
All right,
That would be nice.
can y'all check the stream? See if there's anything.
Yeah, I'm watching the stream right now.
Yeah.
It's on the Crit 3 tips.
Yeah, is there anyone in yet?
It's me and
Dude.
some other person.
Oh, it's me. Me
Oh,
and
okay.
It literally just does.
Wait, no, it says that there's someone there's like a couple of other people that are not my name or Doris, I think.
Okay.
Well, I'm reloading the stream to make sure that I'm not crazy. Yeah, no, there's definitely more than 2 people, but Twitch says no.
Oh, really? That's weird.
I don't know.
Alright. Well, I posted in that announcements,
All right, well.
and it's 8 now. So, oh,
Oh, it's 5. Now it's it
Oh.
says 5 for me.
Whoa, yeah, it says 5 for me too.
okay. One
Very
last
cool.
bite of spaghetto.
Spaghetti. Oh, and it looks like the delay ain't too bad either.
Okay, perfect. Let me swallow my spaghetto.
All right.
Let me not choke on my spaghetto.
Yeah, that'd be bad if that happened.
Alright. And you guys let me know if there's any questions or anything. Which,
Yep.
again, hello friends. Make sure, if you have questions, to ask them in the streaming quick
Streaming crit.
questions chat. There's too many there's too many sounds in that.
It's the stream and crit chat, or just like in the streams chat,
Yeah,
because I'm
or in the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So we're almost there. We're so close to finish. You guys have made it through Crit 2, and you guys are awesome. I think I mentioned it last night, but I really want to stress like how great you guys are doing. I'm not just saying that. This is the best party banter I've ever seen. You guys are doing amazing. I'm so proud of you. So, oh no, don't pay attention to that little floating bullet point at the bottom. So our major takeaways from Crit 2, and again, they're in the streaming Crit questions chat. Jin wrote up some notes. So if you want more in-depth, go to there. And you can always rewatch the stream too. But just the major takeaways from Crit 2 is make sure to exaggerate your poses, take reference of your own body, or someone else's body if you trust them better to exemplify your character. Reference is super important. I know it can I know it seems like, oh, I have to like get up and I have to like pull out my phone and I have to take a picture. Like, I get you. Yeah, I get you, but that doesn't change the fact that it's super helpful. Your guys' art will get so much better for it. And it's not just in party banter. Like, make sure you're using reference for everything you do because it'll get so much better. Even if you're not doing something realistic, it'll still give you an idea of how to stylize it to make it look more like the thing you're trying to look like. Um, Another thing is find the weight of your pose. So having a dynamic pose is great, but if your dynamic pose feels like they're gonna fall off the page, then maybe that's not that great. Um, for things like if they're like jumping or floating, it's a little bit harder to find that weight. But for things where they're touching the ground, you really want to make sure that their weight is over their feet, um, or their center of gravity is over their feet. It's kind of something that's hard to explain verbally, and it's hard to learn. But again, this is where reference is going to help you, um, because and not only for taking a picture, but feeling out the pose, feeling in your own body where the weight is and where you would have to balance to hold that pose. Um, Again, is really helpful. So this is something that's kind of that'll come to you as you practice more. It's not something that you're going to get right away, but it's very important. Did that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Also, on that train of thought, Sab asked if we have a monster specifically for them on all four legs, how should they go about taking reference? They asked, should they take the reference themselves or just try to find best resemblance?
Both. If depending on your monster again, because like some things will be really hard to get. Um, but like I know someone had like a cross with arms. Even though you don't have 6 arms, you can still like get on the ground and hold yourself with your 2 arms and figure out how you would move that way. Um, Figure out how those arms would go holding that weight. Um, it's something that maybe a picture might not be super helpful, but feeling out is still going to be really helpful. And also looking for reference of real life animals and not just pictures of the animals. Try to find videos of them moving because you're still going to need to know where they hold their weight and how they move with their feet. You know? Does that make sense?
Awesome.
And then also with your poses, inform and entertain. I know it's kind of like a instinct to go for the pose that shows off the most of your character so you can get all of those little details in there. I can show you guys how to do that, and I will show you guys how to do that like outside of your pose. But your poses is the first thing that tells people what your character acts like, who your character is. So try to make sure your pose really exemplifies who that character is. Like, for example, if your character is really energetic and bouncy, you might want to do them in a more energetic, bouncy pose. If they're like some kind of an official in the government and they're very like stoic and strict, then maybe a dynamic pose won't work as well. You might want to try something else. Um, but again, try to stay away from just like straight up and down or a T pose. You can really get creative with poses. And then, like I said, reference, 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 reference. It's so important. Again, even if you're thinking, oh, but I like to draw cartoony, I like to draw stylized, I don't need to look at reference. Trust me, you do. Like, no matter what, anything you draw is going to be pulling from real life, and that's going to make it stronger. Um, like, one big thing that I always see is a problem is when people try to draw braided hair. Even if it's in a cartoony style, if anything, that makes it more obvious that you don't know what you're doing. And looking at actual braided hair and how someone would braid hair can help you figure out how to stylize that braided hair. For one crit that I think is a little less important than the poses and the reference is creating a focal point. Again, it is like I'm not going to say it's not important, but it is something that you have to think about. It's just something that I think you should think about secondary to the major poses and reference. But both on your page and in your character, you can make focal points. within your character, you can do small, medium, and big shapes, which I talked about, I think the first crit stream, or the second crit stream? Crit stream 1, or tip stream 1. So big, medium, small shapes, and color can be a good way to create a focal point. The focal points you can create with like contrast, you can create with bunching things together. I'd say if you want to know more, it's something that I can't really go in depth on in this stream. Look it up, find out how other artists do it. You're definitely going to find a lot of really good resources online. It's just something that's like a really in-depth topic that I know I can't get into right now. And then on your page too, again, if you want the person's eye to go towards the dynamic pose, make that dynamic pose the biggest on the page. Make it so that one pose is colored, and that's like your best pose, and then any other like sketches you have maybe are in black and white or grayscale, so that they have less attention to them. You can also get creative with this. And then color palettes. I think this is something that people always get tripped on every year for party banter. You don't have to use the exact colors, the color drop, like the color picked colors from the palette that I have given you that has been generated. You can use these creatively. Try to think about value. Value is so important. If it helps, you can draw your character in grayscale first and then put the colors on, either using like a color layer or something like that in Photoshop, or just matching them with like by switching the picture into grayscale, which if you guys need me to show you how to do, like, tell me. I'm going to assume that you can figure it out. But yeah, so value, and then like I said with focal points is contrast. And contrast can include value, but it also can include, like, if all of your colors are muted and there's one really bright red, your eye's going to go straight to the really bright red. It's also like I said, saturation. So you can create contrast with pulling down the saturation of some hues and bumping up the saturation of others. Pretty much the most important part is get creative with how you use your color palette, and it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah, to hop on that point, like, don't be a slave to your assigned color palettes. Like, I think in the end of the day, everything that was randomly generated is more or less a suggestion. And it's really up to you to figure out what you think is going to work best for the character and the way you're designing it. So
yeah, and I've seen you guys get really creative with the way that you implement your randomized traits. So think of color in the same way, where you want the general feel, but you don't want it to hold you back.
Yeah, like, there have been times, especially like last year, I think we had this was a bigger issue last year, where we're like, some color palettes were like greens and purples, and they don't look great. And yeah, it was just kind of like,
speaking of like greens and purples, a good way to get around that, or to work with that rather, is pulling down the saturation of one color and bumping up the saturation of another. So say you have green and red, they're complementary colors and they kind of clash, but if you have a really muted green and a really bright red, that's going to look a lot more like harmonious together. That's something that I learned a while back, and it's only like made my art better, is really thinking about how I use saturation with contrasting colors, or clashing colors rather. So what's next? What are we expecting out of you? We want you to make a character sheet showcasing your finished character. This is like our impressions of the character. This is how we get to know them, how we get to look at them. Yeah. Make sure it is intentional and thoughtful. These are very important. You don't just want your character to sheet, your blah, 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 your character to sheet. I can't say that like sentence. You don't want your character sheet to be like a bunch of sketches just slapped on your page. That's gonna be very obvious that you didn't put as much thought and like thought and time into it as you could have. Also, yeah, like I was saying with focal point, think about where you put things on the page, think about how you put things on the page. You guys might be thinking like, well, I want to do character design. I don't want to do like graphic design. That's not what I'm doing. Again, I get you, but it is something that you're gonna have to learn, and it will make your art better. So look for character sheets that other people have made. Find your favorite artists, find your favorite studios. There's so many different ways you can make a character sheet, and I'm going to be showing you some, but these are just like a fraction of different ways you can make a character sheet and have it be like good looking, like have it be intentional and thoughtful, have it showcase your character in an effective way, and have it be clear to the viewer, which is another thing that's very important. Make sure that it's clear. Don't let your character sheets get too cluttered. This is another thing where I know your first instinct is to want to show as much of the characters you can. What you can do if you're like, I want to show my character, but I also want to show all these details, is you can have a main character sheet that shows off the character, and then have the next page be like call-outs or poses or expressions. And then another important thing is, like I was saying earlier, exaggerate your poses. Let your poses convey your character. Make sure that the pose really says who the character is, and label your stuff.
So personally, I was thinking about this, like the rationale behind potentially not labeling it at this stage, and it's just like the only way I could figure out why some of you might have not is, one, you would have forgotten, or two, for presentation. Keep in mind, these are being critiqued. These are not your final character sheets.
Yes.
Because once they're done, they're going to have numbers. But because, this is for the benefit of you and all of our professors, they need to know what they're looking at. So numbering them, it's more for everyone's convenience. But like once you like finally finish it off, do all the finishing touches, put it in your portfolio, you can get rid of them.
Yeah, and this is something that's not really. I feel like everything that we learn here is universal, but this one's a little less universal because of the way we do party banter and the way that your stuff is being crit. Because we're not next to each other physically, the teachers can't point to the things that they're thinking of. So labeling might not matter as much there. But since we have that degree of separation through the internet, you do need to know what each other are talking about, and just for clarity's sake, label your stuff. You can always remove the labels when you make your final piece that's ready to go in your portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to add in one thing with not letting your pages get too cluttered. As Avery mentioned, you could always have a main character page, and then from there go on to like another thing to keep in mind. This is digital, so you guys theoretically have as many pages as you want. So, like, yeah, keep that in mind. You don't need to squish everything into one page.
Yeah. Do, again, like, do be clear. Brevity is good, but if you really can't show everything you want to show, then don't be afraid to use more pages. This is also not like an excuse to go buck wild and crazy and just make as many pages as you can and like show off every little thing, every single button and every single like tie on your character. We don't really need that for this. It's only going to be more work for you. So just think like, what do I need? What do I want? And how do I show it? Yeah.
Yeah. In general, like, work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder. All right, so here's some examples of character sheets that I like. Yeah, I'm just going to be saying a couple things that I like about them in each one. I have a lot of them, so I hope you guys like won't get I don't know. I hope this is enough for you guys, and if it's not, research yourself. Find, like I said, find studios you like, find artists you like, and look at how they do character sheets. Even if it's not like a professional artist, I've seen some like really good character sheets for people's OCs. Like, they're good, they're fun. You can get a lot of different ideas to show the same thing. So in this one, I like how the main pose, one is colored, so it brings your eye to it. Two, I like how it's got like a height chart. I know for a lot of you, this won't be as much of a thing. But I thought this was like a fun and nice little example of how you can show how tall they are effectively and quickly. Um, I like how they have the colors that they use because this is for a game and it's going to be modeled by a modeler and textured by a texturer. I think it's nice to have the flat colors in there just so that they have really easy access to what they're going to be doing. And then, like I said, this one is for a game and it's going to be 3D modeled. So in this case, the A pose with the front and back are very helpful. And in your guys' party banter, no one, or you're not really sending this off to a modeler, so you don't have to have that A pose. So maybe it'll be a better idea to do that fun character pose that is colored in right there. I also like how they have like the an image of the character with the hat and without the hat, so that you can see the details of their face, but still see how the hat interacts with their head. And then lastly, I really like at the very top, you'll see those things, they're called callouts. Those are super helpful. Again, work smarter, not harder. This means that this artist, she doesn't have to show the texture on every single thing that she's drawing. Like I said, she's doing it in flat so they can be sent to a modeler. So to show the texture that she's aiming for and that she wants, she has little boxes at the top that show the texture of what she's doing. In this case, she painted them herself and put them there. But in your guys' case, you can also use pictures. If you found a picture of a fabric that you really like and you really want it to be that, but you don't know how to like show that in your drawing, put a call out in there and like say like this is supposed to be the handle for the sword. You don't have to say it in that many words. Maybe like an arrow is fine. Next one. This one is a really interesting one. As you can see, it's like so different than this last one. This one's for a video game for modeling. This one is for an animation. I don't. Again, it's so different than the last one, but it's still very effective in getting across like what the character looks like. You can see in the top left corner, there's like just the face without the fur, so you can see all of those details and how it works pretty much. You can see how the character moves, you can see how the character reacts with their expressions, and also like subtle things like in the bottom left, he's looking up and it shows both the expression and also how you would draw that character like from a lower angle. This one's kind of more what I think you guys are going for, like a D&D kind of character. Again, it's got like a really nice like rendered pose right in the left side with like you can see their character, but they're more standard pose. You can still see their character. Again, I'd kind of like you to go a little bit further than this because you don't have to be handing it off to a modeler or anything. But then this person also has callouts, but they're a little different than that first one we saw. Instead of being in boxes, they're around the page and they're labeled and they show you what they are. So like you can see the hilt of the swords, the bracelet that she's wearing on her wrist, the pattern of rope that she has around her arms, and the kind of fabric that she has on her skirt, which like they're showing the kind of fabric she has on her skirt. That's how in depth this is. And then I really like the horsehair pauldron right at the top because it really shows you things that these smaller like full character drawings really can't show, but in a really effective way and in a really informative way. Here's some examples from animes. Dara, would you like to say a thing?
Yeah, so at least in this case, well, first off, animes. These are obviously more like animation reference sheets, so they're definitely not as like they're not as rendered. there are a few things, kind of like as we mentioned with like call outs, like the one for Mob. There's like just like little things, like how they mention how his belt works and like what his shoes are like. But like again, because it's for animation, they don't need to go super in depth for it. And like the one thing I personally like about the Mob Psycho one is the fact that like they go with a good like a super simple like turnaround, just front back, and then they go out of their way to like show him in action and like give him some personality.
Yeah, the
And
things I
then
like about
yeah,
both of these is that every single pose really shows off who the character is, even even though they're being turned around. I
yeah,
think they're like kind of going about it in a creative way that both
yeah. Like with
shows who the
Bakugo, he
character
still
is.
looks like a dick,
Yeah,
like when he's turned around.
like it shows both who it is and how yeah, it shows both who it is and how they look. And in Bakugo's, you can see he's got a little expression sheet at the bottom, which you're free to put in too. Expressions are fun and good and helpful for animation.
Yeah,
This next one, again, I think another like D&D type of one. I think this might be what a lot of you are going for. We've got a big rendered or like painted pose, and then smaller callouts. We have up in the corner a smaller turnaround um, because they don't need as much detail. At least in this character's case, they don't need as much detail from the back as they do in the front. They also have some callouts for the guns that they're holding and a knife, and also down at the bottom how they use those weapons, as well as the effects that are related to the weapons, which I think is so cool. Like that little corner drawing, I wish it was bigger because it's just so like neat and cool, and how it's composed and how it's all the same character, but they're kind of interacting with each other. I just think that's really neat.
yeah. And also like another thing to take away from this is like the fact that they go out of their way to like show the effects. And if you remember how last night, like Jeff and Owen were really like design your magic,
Yeah,
because like think it in a way, no, in a not even in a way, magic is like a prop for your character.
and it's
And
so fun.
yeah, and
Like
then
you
also
guys can
like
have a lot of fun with this.
yeah, like I think in this like the most simplest term, if you want to think about it like Harry Potter, like the magic is like, you know, each character's Patronus or whatever. Like it says a lot about your character's personality and how like they function.
Yeah, you can be
So
really
really have fun with it.
you can be really creative with how you choose to show your magic, how it reflects your character. Um, yeah, like look at other magic things. Um, I hate to say this, but I think League of Legends, if you look up concept art for that and like effects art for that, you can find some really good examples of how magic can be used to show character.
Yeah.
This next one I really liked. Again, it's like a lot different than the other ones, but it still has that like main drawing that your eyes immediately go towards with colors that kind of shows off the character and also all of the details. And then they have little call outs like the guy's face at the left corner showing like this isn't an actual monkey. This is a guy with a mask, and then the mask in the right corner. And then little like character moments, I guess, showing him like resting, walking, and like kicking, to show like the different ways that this character can move around. Here's some more animes. So the Lupin one on the right, that one's more of an expression sheet, but it's still like a good thing to think about. Thinking
Yeah.
about how your character expresses themselves. Again, with animation, it's super important. And if you go into animation as a character designer, you're going to have to do a lot of expression sheets.
Oh, absolutely. And like the reason why I picked this is one, because I like Lupin, which is obvious, but two, like it really is like a nice series of different expressions for the character. You really get a feel of like what he's like, and also like, you know, for the sake of the animators, they'll be like, okay, well these are very, you know, these are, you know, pretty common expressions that he's gonna have. So, you know,
And
knock those
again,
down.
like I said, with intention and thought, you can tell that these what are they called? Expressions weren't just like placed on the page without any thought of how they go. They're kind of like arranged together like a puzzle almost. Um, really thinking about how they'll work around each other. So even if it's something as simple as just expressions, you can still think about how you put them on the page. And then the one to the left, again, this one, even while it's doing a turnaround, the character's still showing a lot of character in their poses. Again, they have callouts to the goggles.
To the goggle? Yeah.
As well as like a view from above, still in character. And then at the bottom corner, which I think is, again, like not something you guys really need to think about now, but something that you might be thinking about if you do this as a job, is like they kind of did like a thought process of how they draw their character, how to go about drawing it. Like this is one in Japanese too, really low resolution, so I can't read exactly what it says, but what I'm guessing is pretty much like where angles are, how they hold themselves, and what not to do.
Yeah.
And then here's some past examples. We got Pallavi Kazarus, which I really like this one. It's got a big drawing, but it's also got like those turnarounds. Again, all in character, as well as expressions, which I think it's really fun and cute. And then the one to the right is mine, so I feel like I can't really say much about it without sounding like I'm like, ooh, I'm such a good artist. But what I was thinking was like I didn't really want to do a turnaround because this one's meant for a children's book, so I just did it in poses that I thought he would do in the book in character. And then, excuse me, what happened? What happened? Oh, there.
What?
Oh, it just wasn't showing the examples.
Oh yeah, weird.
Here's some monster examples. We've got to the right the bird.
The thug bird?
The thug bird.
I love thug bird.
We've got him doing different like poses, how he moves, how he acts, as well as like some sexual dimorphism in there, which I think is kind of cool. And then to the left, I really like this character sheet. It's very simple, but it's like well designed in my opinion. We've got a rendered or shaded drawing to the left, and then a less rendered drawing to the right, but it's in a different pose, it's in a different angle, and it's showing how this character moves and acts. And then I really liked a little extra thing that they put in was how that like sack interacts with their body, their skeleton, which I thought was like a neat little example, a neat little addition. Again, you don't need it, but I just really like when character designers or monster designers think about how their monster's skeleton works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's neat. So is this the final submission? No, unfortunately. Or I guess fortunately. I don't know, however you take that. I think fortunately, because I think it means you can spend more time getting some really cool stuff going. Since we're getting crit, you still need to apply the feedback you get from the crit. So this is like kind of where you're going for your final, but like I said, you're still getting crit, and you still need to apply the things that you have learned. So we will be having a pizza party banter, where we can all meet in person, eat some pizza, and look at each other's final submissions, which I will get you a date to like soon. I still need to talk to like Flora about getting a room that we can all meet together in. You're also free to do more with your character if you want to. In the past, if you guys have done Party Banter before, you may remember that we used to do character interactions. We've taken that out this year just because it's a little bit much for a lot of people, and it kind of detracts from the I guess like final. It detracts from the quality of your final artwork, in my opinion. But if you want to do that, you are absolutely free to, and I would love to see it. You can make an animation, an illustration, a little comic, a character moment with other people's characters, which is super fun. I love that. That's like my favorite thing to do. A sculpture, you can do a 10-chapter fanfic that we're all forced to listen to at Party Banter Pizza Party, and we're there for all day listening to you like orate this amazing novel.
Like this
This
amazing slow burn.
Yeah, an amazing Party Banter slow burn. Yeah, so again, if you have any questions about that, make sure to ask us. It's not too much to think about. This is, like I said, this is where you're going in your final submission, but this isn't the last thing we want you to turn in, because this isn't, you're still getting crit, and you still want to make your stuff better for your portfolio. If this is going to go in your portfolio, you want it to look the best that it can get. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. So yeah, like to quickly like go over it one more time. This is not the final submission. This is the last submission. This is the final submission where you get feedback.
Yes.
That's the way to think about it. So go at it with that. You guys are doing fantastic. Like it's not like this is straight up the best party banter we've run so far.
I love you guys. You guys are like awesome.
You guys are like really, really wowing us. Like,
and those
like Jeff and Owen, like especially Owen, he's like been really taken aback by it, which I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I think those of you first years who are doing party banter with us this year, like, I think like even though you're not finished yet, I think these are really strong, and I think you can put them in your portfolio even if you wanted to.
Yeah, like when you're getting ready to sign up for portfolio review, like you guys, you know, you probably already have something in the bag.
I put my party banter in my portfolio and I passed, so I'm gonna say that because of party banter, I passed my portfolio. So if you guys put your party banter in there and pass your portfolio, it's all because of me.
Oh my god. I was gonna say it's all because of Colton. I mean, he's the one who started it.
Colton, yeah. Thank you, Colton. If you guys,
if you're out
I feel
there.
like a lot of you guys don't know Colton because he graduated a while ago.
He didn't graduate. Nickelodeon stole him.
He left. He used to be, if you don't know Colton, he used to be our Shrunken Headman president for like a month. And then Nickelodeon's like, hey, do you want to be a storyboard artist on SpongeBob? And he's like, yeah, sure. And they're like, okay, but we're going to need to take you away from your Shrunken Headman club. And he's like, fuck those guys. I'm just kidding. He's so sweet. He still kept in contact and still helped out with the club. But when I was in my first year, he was in his, third year?
This is his third year, yeah.
And he started this cool thing where he's like, what if everyone comes together and makes some characters and we all talk to our professors and look at our stuff. It was really cool, really fun. So this all came out of Colton. So just like in your hearts and minds, thank Colton, Mr. Colton Davis, for starting Party Banter.
Yep.
But yeah. If anyone has any questions, please send them in the chat now. If you think about them later, send them in the regular questions channel so that we can answer them as fast as we can. Yeah, I hope that was really helpful. I know when I see examples, it really helps make things click in my brain. So I hope looking at examples really help you guys.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions in the chat?
Nope. Apparently, I'm the only one watching.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm gonna cry now.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions in the stream crit chat, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's the case, I'm fine with just calling it a day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you to the people who came in for like 5 minutes. Yeah, have any questions, ask them in the Discord.
And again, this will be up on YouTube. I'll start exporting that as soon as this ends. It does take a little bit to go on YouTube, but it is still recorded on Twitch.
Yep.
All right. See ya.
All right.